Yo, welcome back. So we're going to have another standard deck archetype update with the inclusion of Kamigawa and Dynasty. So this deck list is from the $500 cash GG Tour Duel number 8. This is I think a local game store or maybe an online store or such. This is update on the build of Selesnya Aggro, and this was played by Randolph Ilonggo. The event had 170 players, and was held March 5th, just last week, and I think. And the other archetypes, as you can see, includes Resolve controls, Nairunes, Blue White, and the winner was White Winnie. Anyway, going back to the list, we're going to look at how the deck has evolved with the inclusion of the new set. So if you see this virtual deck list, you'll notice a bunch of creatures, maybe variants on the build, along with some spells and the usual stuff for green-white, like the Chariot and Ren and 7. So we start with the creature choice. This is Catilda, the Dawnheart Prime from Midnight Hunt. This acts as a mana ramp on its own, as it gives human creatures 1 mana, producing 1 mana of any color of that creature's color, and later on it can become a mana sink for pumping out other creatures by having placing +1/+1 counter each of them. Along with the useful ramp for green, we have Prosperous Innkeeper and Tangled Flora Hedron. And utility creatures that can deal with the opponent's threats is Bulakatar. This is a 3-drop that can exile as it comes to play, and also when it transforms back into Bulakatar from Moonrage Brute. Along with the Guardians of Fate, this Spirit Knight sort of protects your creatures from mass removal by phasing them out as it enters the battlefield. And then we also have a copy of Legion's Angel, which you can just fetch other copies from your sideboard and put it to your hand when it enters the battlefield also. And another 4-drop is the Yasharn, Implacable Earth. It can search for basic forests and plains, can ramp your mana, can also nullify sacrifice effects, especially from Rakdos decks, wherein they cannot sacrifice non-permanents to cast spells or activate abilities. So we also have a 1 copy of Outland Liberator, which can just basically destroy artifact or enchantments by sacrificing it, or if you ever to get to flip it, it can also trigger destroy effects when it attacks. So the spells choices are also your utility creature generation token generator, such as this Starheim Unleashed. You can create 4/4 token when you hardcast, but when it's foretelled, you can pay additional X for the definite X number of tokens that you can produce, which in the late game can be a good mana sink if ever you just foretell it and then pay for its foretell cost. Another good creature choice token effect is the newest card from Kamigawa, the Invoke the Ancients, wherein you can just create 2 4/5 green spirit creature tokens, and you can add the variant of Rich Counter, Vigilance, or Trample for each one of them. So basically this is a 2-for-1 card with the 2 creature tokens, which can basically just clump up your board, given that they are of a 4/5 just for 5 mana. 2 4/5s for 5 mana cost. And a single copy of Storm the Festival is just maybe a sort of a variance and a utility, wherein you can just put the top 2 permanent cards from the top 7. I mean the top 5 cards of the library with a flashback cost of 10. And of course we have Emir's Call. This is pseudo land drop in the early game, but its utility in the late game is having to produce 2/4 for white in your creature tokens with flying and giving your non-angel creatures indestructible. So basically you can make them attack the turn that you cast this card, and also having them indestructible until your next turn. So the new inclusion of the Planeswalker for this deck from Kamigawa is the Wandering Emperor, wherein it's not only used in Orzhov and Blue-White Control, but also had a slot here in Green-White Aggro. So not only producing tokens, but also making sure that you can do combat tricks by having to cast it with flash. So two copies, I think 2 copies is enough to put out on the curve, since if you check, you had also several 4 drops in this build. So 1, 2, also 4 copies of Mystical Chariot. So if ever you get to not to really clump up the 4 mana in your curve, so you can just have 2 copies of the Wandering Emperor, a sort of a late game gas or creature source. So along with also with Ren and 7, but this is for the 5 mana slot. So producing Green Folk tokens is also a good chance to make develop for your board. And along with the Chariot's token copy generation ability, you can just basically abuse this setup with this 2 card combo. And along with other utility cards are Wedding Announcement, which just basically that do its thing of producing tokens and drawing new cards, and also gaining into Wedding festivity to come out your creatures. And a single copy of Felidar Retreat for landfall effects of having white cat beast token, or just putting some counters in this creature control and giving them vigilance until the end of turn. So lastly, this is the portable hole for the 2 of slots for 1 mana. You can just basically kill off exile permanents, non-permanents with mana values or less until it leaves the battlefield. So basically just hold off any early aggressions from under aggro decks until you get to set up to your brig creatures or your Escasariots into play. So for the land choices, these are just pretty basic. I didn't include the new Kamigawa channel lands, but I think Busiju and Iganju may have a slot of at least 1 copy in this build. So they have Lair of the Hydra for the manland, along with just fixing of pathways and overgrowth farmland. Now for the sideboard, Snakeskin build is basically for protecting your best creature against spot removals, and also giving them some counters, which is a good additional power effect in case that you would need that 1 more power to deal lethal damage. Circle Confinement as a support for your portable hole. This is 2-drop. It can exile 3 or less creatures with mana value of those number, but it also gets you benefit of gaining life in case that that a vampire spell has the same name as the card that was exiled. And another copy of Outland Liberator for disenchant effects. Elite Speedbinder for control, to look at your hand and delay the best card while you develop your board. So if ever you get to delay their Doomscar or any mass removal, you can basically beat them with damage before they can just wipe your creatures. So again, another copy of Guardians of Fate for the same purpose of protecting your dudes from mass removal. Invoke the Divine for disenchant with gain 4 life. I think this is pretty viable now, since most of the decks in the meta game are either enchantment creatures or uses vehicles to as artifact, which is also a good target for this spell. And 3 copies of Legion Angel, as you can fetch them from 1 copy in the main board. So overall, this is maybe an updated list, but I think again, having channel lands in the main may not really hurt the tempo or aggro curve of this deck. So that's about it. If you may want to try this in MTG Arena, you may do so, and just leave a comment on what your insights on this build as you try to play it on rank, or maybe on just casual standard gameplay. So that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel for more standard in Kamigawa and in Dynasty updates. Until the next time.